Tonight on 7 News, party attack. A teenager kicked and slashed with a machete in Midair, the violent video shared online. Stunning splashdown, the crew of Artemis safely home after a red-hot return to Earth. Midair drama for a Perth-bound flight, the Qantas jet diverted as passengers start feeling unwell. A major arrest in Perth tobacco wars, police charges over the firebombing of stores across our suburbs. High-stakes Iran peace talks just hours away as Donald Trump vows shipping lanes will open one way or another. And a thriller from Fremantle in the Adelaide rain, where live to Ryan had gathered round.
Live from Perth, this is 7 News with Susannah Carr.
Good evening. We have shocking video tonight of a gang attack at a party in Perth's north. A teenager is repeatedly kicked and struck with a machete. The assault was filmed and shared online. The 17-year-old's mother spoke exclusively to 7 News with a warning to other parents.
Surrounded and set upon, this gang attack is relentless. Several repeated blows, then a machete. On the ground, defenceless, is 17-year-old Lucas.
A parent's worst nightmare. I can't watch the videos, I haven't watched them, but I've heard from other people. People have told me, he's lucky to be alive.
It's 10:30 p.m. in Midair when a house party turns violent. Lucas's mate is kicked repeatedly before Lucas runs out to intervene. Then the teen becomes the target. Chased out onto the street, Lucas is quickly outnumbered.
My heart breaks for my son. Absolutely breaks for my son that he had to go through that and there was no one there to help him.
Lucas spent 2 days at Joondalup Hospital, lacerations to his legs, bruising and scratches. He needed multiple stitches. Police were called to the attack.
He's asked the officer for help and to call an ambulance, and the officer ignored him.
More than a week on, no arrests have been made.
We know who they are. We've told police, we've given names, we've given statements, there's video footage. They're out there tonight running around with machetes.
The entire brutal brawl was posted online, an act that will soon be an offence under new post and boast laws. The punishment, up to 3 years in jail.
If your kids are going to a party tonight, in Midair, in Butler, in Clarkson, beware, because it might be you that gets the next call.
Francesca Danuccio, 7 News.
3 lives have been lost in a horrific crash in Stoneville. The car smashed into a tree along Stoneville Road just before 9 this morning. 3 adults sustained critical injuries and died at the scene. Neighbours were confronted with the tragic sight as they rushed to help.
I was up on the side, wedged between 2 trees, and my bobcat was already here, getting ready to pull it off, and just trying to, as I said, just try and open it up for the emergency services as best I could with the video.
The busy road was closed as major crash investigators cleared the scene. A Qantas flight bound for Perth has been forced to make an emergency landing in Adelaide after reports of a mechanical smell in the cabin. The passengers were left stranded, with many having to spend the night in the terminal.
A dramatic diversion on no one's travel plans. Qantas QF857 from Canberra forced to land in Adelaide after a mechanical smell filled the plane's cabin.
There was an issue with the lounge and something with fumes.
Paramedics called in, with more than a dozen people reporting a metallic taste in their mouths.
I was actually at the front of the plane, so I could smell it quite strongly.
The aircraft arriving after curfew, unable to continue its journey to Perth until first light. Passengers stranded in the terminal. Out of anywhere in Australia to be stuck, they were jammed into the one city that's all booked out.
Because it was gather round, there was no hotels available. By the time they found things, it was only if they went, they'd only be gone for 90 minutes and then have to come back to the airport.
Travellers were rebooked on the first flights out this morning, a sigh of relief as they finally walked through the arrival gates at Perth Airport. The aircraft has since returned to service after being cleared by engineers overnight. Qantas says the diversion was purely a precaution and has apologised to customers for the inconvenience. Customers who'll no doubt be after some much-needed rest after finally touching down at their intended destination nearly 10 hours late.
Pretty knackered. Yeah, ready for a sleep.
Sam Haberland, 7 News.
The return of the Artemis II crew had millions of people glued to screens around the world, and they witnessed a spectacular splashdown. Tonight, as the astronauts get used to living back on Earth, NASA is hailing the mission the start of a new era.
Our flashing first views from the ground. Orion capsule Integrity falling to Earth.
Integrity.
The world holding its breath.
There it is.
There.
And a view of Integrity from the WB-57. We're at 50,000 feet.
30 minutes earlier, just over Australia.
We think we see a beautiful sunrise over the west coast of Australia.
Integrity separates from Orion's service module.
Houston, good step on board.
With the space station crew looking on, the curve of Earth filling Integrity's window, all systems are go.
Now entering the Earth's atmosphere.
Then, heat glow at 40,000 kilometres an hour, Sydney to Perth in 5 minutes. Boiling plasma, half as hot as the sun. 4 souls riding a fireball, so hot it blacks out all radio contact.
So that pinpoint of light shows the vehicle.
Finally, after 6 silent minutes.
Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
One danger over, another begins.
And we're on drogues.
History unfolding live on 7's special coverage.
There you go.
Main chute deploy.
We see 3 good-looking parachutes.
Just shy of the target off San Diego, California.
Houston, Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy, splashdown.
All 4 members are green. Green meaning they're feeling great, not the complexion of their skin.
A naval flotilla moving in to free the astronauts.
All 4 crew members now out of Integrity.
Then into the air again, chopper to a US warship for medical checks and the journey home.
So y'all, we did it.
NASA glowing, as bright as a rocket-like Empire State, giving a red, white and blue salute.
Our team is fired up. And this mission, as we've been talking about, is just the beginning.
Commander Reed Wiseman, Canadian Jeremy Hansen, pilot Victor Glover and specialist Christine Koch.
Welcome back. Welcome, welcome home.
Heroes who put their lives on the line for humanity's future.
This is the start of a new era of human space exploration.
Now on to Artemis II, the moon base, then Mars. Patrick Burns, 7 News.
High-stakes peace talks between the US and Iran are set to take place tonight, but there are still threats from both sides that could derail the fragile truce. The US president says the Strait of Hormuz will open soon, one way or another, while Iran has set 2 preconditions before sitting down to negotiate.
Hours before make-or-break peace talks, the US president revealing just how fragile the current ceasefire is.
Now we're going to open up the Gulf. With or without them. I think it's going to go pretty quickly, and if it doesn't, we'll be able to finish it off one way or the other.
This as the Iranian delegation was touching down in Pakistan, a warm welcome for the parliamentary speaker and foreign minister. But Iran's last-minute conditions are threatening to derail the talks before they've even begun, including a full ceasefire in Lebanon, where they're mourning the dead following a barrage of Israeli airstrikes, and the return of frozen Iranian assets. Leading the US delegation, the American Vice President.
We're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive.
Islamabad is the stage for this high-stakes diplomacy. The city is in lockdown, a public holiday declared to clear the streets. At risk, the security of the entire region and the health of the global economy. For the US president, there's a clear red line.
No nuclear weapon, number one. You know, I think it's already been regime change, but we never had that as a criteria. No nuclear weapon. That's 99% of it.
Also, the Strait of Hormuz. The Islamic Republic wants to impose fees for oil shipping through the crucial passage, an idea rejected by the US and neighbouring Gulf nations. On his own trip to the Gulf, the UK Prime Minister spoke to the US President about military capabilities and logistics to get vessels through the Hormuz Strait, revealing a coalition of 30 countries stand ready to help.
This conflict is going to define us for a generation, and we must respond, and we will respond with strength.
Iran likely to drive a very hard bargain if both sides even get to the negotiating table. In London, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
The Federal Energy Minister has warned the global fuel crisis is far from over, even if ceasefire talks succeed. He's released new figures on Australia's fuel stockpile as farmers balk at the cost of diesel.
Prime Minister Albanese leaves Singapore and energy talks there as his minister warns Australians.
This is not over, far from it.
Middle East ceasefire talks, he says, will not suddenly solve the global fight for fuel.
And we have not yet seen the Straits of Hormuz open anywhere near to the extent that we need them to.
New fuel stockpile numbers. Australia has 38 days petrol, diesel 31 and 28 days supply of jet fuel.
I can also confirm that we currently have 57 tankers on the way to Australia with some form of fuel.
Still coming, but at a cost.
We're still over $3 a litre on farm in Western Queensland.
Fuel wholesaler Danny Kreitzer has had supply issues from the moment the war began.
It's probably slightly better, Tim.
His new headache? Demand. Farmers telling him it's not worth their while buying such costly diesel.
I would say one third of the customers are thinking twice about planting.
And the Nationals say the Prime Minister's recent promise of $1 billion in interest-free loans to help with the delivery of fuel and fertiliser is simply not reaching those who need it.
To date, there's no way to apply for these loans. I've spoken to trucking companies, spoken to farmers. They're desperate for this finance. They need this finance. They need the cash flow.
The government says it is listening and taking practical steps to support farmers. Tim Lester, 7 News.
Police have made a significant arrest in Perth's tobacco wars. A 23-year-old has been charged with nearly a dozen serious offences, including the alleged firebombing of shops across our suburbs. Sam Haberland reports.
Dangerous firebombings impacting every corner of our city. In the north, south and east, Perth became caught up in the ongoing tobacco wars last year. And now police have caught up with one of the men they claim coordinated many of these brazen attacks. 23-year-old Hadi Saad arrested yesterday, hit with 11 serious charges, from criminal damage, conspiracy and aggravated burglary, alleged to have occurred over a 7-month period. Police say he was part of an established criminal network, linking Saad to multiple targeted attacks across Perth. In November, 3 hooded men ram-raid a Midland shop before using a jerry can to set it alight. In December, a similar early morning attack in Maddington using fuel and a getaway car. Another violent hit in January, Molotov cocktails thrown through the front door of a shop in Balladura. The court heard of even more alleged links to crime in Mandurah, Beechborough, Kelmscott and Rockingham. Among the charges, a separate allegation he conspired to pay $40,000 to have someone shot in the leg. This was a significant arrest for Task Force Maverick, the operation specifically targeting WA's illegal tobacco trade. While many of the arrests were made in the days after some of these attacks happened, police allege Saad was one of the men behind the scenes, orchestrating and enabling them. His lawyer did not make an application for bail. Saad will be back in court later this month. Sam Haberland, 7 News.
The sight of pensioners sleeping rough on the side of a Rockingham road is not only distressing, but residents say it's becoming increasingly dangerous. Locals camping on Memorial Drive are worried about the level of assaults and dangerous driving nearby. Advocates say it's only a matter of time before someone is seriously injured.
During the daytime, everything's fine. As soon as it comes 5 o'clock till 5 o'clock the next morning, this is when the people are feeling it really tough. This is when the abuse starts. Men get belted up for no reason.
Locals were back on the ground today delivering clothes to those sleeping rough. Sprint sensation Lachlan Kennedy has become the first Australian to break the 10-second barrier on home soil. He cracked it in a heat of the 100 metres at the Australian Athletics Championships and is confident he can still go faster.
Away. Out of the blocks at a blistering pace. Kennedy clearly in front at halfway. All about the time now. Lockie's going for it and going. And getting it. Yes, you betcha! The 22-year-old sensation covering the 100 metres in only 9.96 seconds in Sydney.
Well, we've never seen any Australian run this fast in this country by a long shot.
Kennedy becoming the first Aussie sprinter to break the 10-second barrier on home soil.
Awesome. I've never done it before. Hopefully I do it a couple more times.
Just to put it into perspective, we're in a Commonwealth Games year. That 9.96 would have won him gold in Birmingham 4 years ago.
The time 2/100ths of a second quicker than his previous best, a 9.98 set at a meet in Kenya last year.
My goal was just to hit the start like I normally do it, hit top speed and just try and maintain it, but I definitely got more in the tank.
A pumped-up post-run warning to tonight's competition, including defending champion Rowan Browning, who got the better of Kennedy in last year's final.
Rowan's going to squeeze the lemon, and he's run pretty well.
It's very hard for anyone to beat Lockie right now in the form that he's in. However, if anyone's going to do it with the experience that Rowan has, it's probably likely going to be him. He'll push him all the way to the line.
For lightning fast Lockie, another long-standing national record well within reach. Anything quicker than 9.93 this evening would see him crowned Australia's fastest man over 100 metres, taking the title earned by Patrick Johnson in Japan 23 years ago.
What a head-to-head the 200 is going to be between Gout and Lockie Kennedy. We know that Lockie is 2-0 up on Gout, but if Gout can run to his best, he could just take it out this time around.
All the action live and free on the screens of 7 after tonight's bulletin. Rowan Welsh, 7 News.
South Australia is buzzing today with Gather Round hitting full steam. Ryan Daniels is at Adelaide Oval. Ryan, some very happy West Aussies in town.
Yeah, that's right, Sue. Thousands have made the trip from WA to Gather Round, proudly wearing their colours around town, braving the rain and the wind. There were 4 games today in South Australia. The Barossa Valley hosted one, while Norwood, a ground not far from here, hosted also. The Eagles don't play till tomorrow. They'll play at Norwood. Freo fans, meanwhile, have been celebrating already. A thrilling win here at Adelaide Oval last night. Later in sport, we'll have all the highlights from a nail-biting final term, Sue.
Ryan, thank you. Jerry Damasi joins us now with a look at today's weather. And Jerry, the forecast said 30 degrees. Did we get there?
It was on the cards, Sue, but we didn't quite get there today. Not far off it, though. 28 degrees was as warm as it got for Perth City. That came after an overnight low of 14. Humidity was up around 60% this morning, but that's eased right off now to 35. It's 26 degrees still outside at the moment with a light southeasterly breeze about, and you might be seeing or smelling some smoke haze where you are, and that's due to some active prescribed burns between Waroona and Coburn. What's ahead? Well, we've got a big trough deepening right down the coast. That's pulling warm air out to the metro from hotter parts of the state that are under this ridge down here. So it is going to be a little warmer over the next few days. Certainly nothing like the super hot days we saw last month. How hot, you ask? Well, I'll be back with the 7-day forecast with all those details very soon. So.
Thanks, Jerry. And still to come, Prince Harry sued. Next, a shock new legal threat just days before he arrives in Australia. A cyclone barrelling towards New Zealand, where it's set to hit. Centimetres from disaster as a cyclist dices with death. And later, the future of EVs on show as electric vehicle sales soar. Fire crews were called to the Tip Top Bakery in Canning Vale last night after one of the commercial ovens caught fire. It's believed the blaze caused around $80,000 damage, but there was no disruption to production. In a stunning turn of events, Prince Harry is now being sued by the charity he co-founded. Centre Barley is accusing the Duke of Sussex of defamation, saying he perpetuated false narratives and harmed its reputation.
A fresh twist in a bitter public feud. The charity Prince Harry set up in memory of his late mother Diana is taking him to court. Centre Barley, which helps African children living with HIV and AIDS, has accused the Duke of orchestrating a coordinated adverse media campaign, causing operational disruption and reputational harm. The complaint, filed in London's High Court, stems from a war of words between the Prince and charity chair Dr Sophie Chanduka. When he resigned as patron last year, she spoke out against him.
Really, what Prince Harry wanted to do was to eject me from the organisation, and this went on for months. It went on for months through bullying, harassment.
Chanduka claims the Duke sought to have her removed when she blew the whistle on what she called poor governance and abuses of power. In allowing the dispute to play out publicly, Centre Barley now says Prince Harry and former trustee Mark Dyer were the architects of a campaign that triggered an onslaught of cyberbullying directed at the charity and its leadership. The Royal has been quick to respond, categorically rejecting the claims, which he calls offensive and damaging, taking a jab at the organisation for using funds meant to help people in need to pursue legal action. Jacinta Lee, 7 News.
A state of emergency has been declared in some parts of New Zealand as Cyclone Vaianu approaches the North Island. Damaging winds and heavy rain are expected overnight before the eye of the storm hits Coromandel around midday tomorrow. Hundreds of coastal properties have been evacuated. Residents across New Zealand have been told to have a plan to shelter at home and prepare for potentially life-threatening landslides and flooding. A bike rider is lucky to be alive after he rode into the path of an oncoming train in Vietnam. He was on a phone call and bypassed the lower barriers before the train clipped his bike, sending him flying into commuters waiting on the other side of the tracks. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Donald Trump has unveiled plans for a 76-metre arch to be built in the US Capitol. Nicknamed the Arc de Trump, the design features a golden-winged Lady Liberty flanked by 2 gold eagles. Gold inscription reads, "One nation under God." If approved, it would stand taller than the US Capitol building. A footy star turned senator is on a new crusade to feed hungry mouths. Why he's got the federal government in his sights, details next. On board with our police as they jump from a moving helicopter, what's behind the dramatic plunge? Perth's Orthodox community comes together to celebrate an Easter tradition. And new so-called wonder weight loss drug poised to give Ozempic a run for its money. That's later. Foodbank says the surge in fuel costs is limiting its ability to feed needy Australians. Demand for the charity's services has gone up by 6% since interest rates rose and the Iran war began. Senator David Pocock tells 7 News the Albanese government should fund the not-for-profit through a new tax on gas exports.
At a food bank warehouse in Sydney's West, staff and volunteers are working around the clock to feed hungry households. 44% of Australians say they're struggling to put food on the table. The Middle East oil crisis adding to the strain, impacting charities too.
Every dollar that an organisation like Foodbank needs to invest in petrol is a dollar that we're not putting into food.
The non-for-profit wants $5 million from the federal government.
That this crisis is a little bit silent. People don't realise that members of their family are choosing not to eat tonight because they're needing to send their kids to school with lunch tomorrow.
Try-saving tackle by David Pocock. Former Wallabies star, now independent Senator David Pocock tells 7 News podcast The Issue the Prime Minister should step in and help.
Give me a break. That should be a no-brainer for the government.
Also on his budget wish list, increasing pension payments and new programs for renters to get solar power. But how would he pay for it?
I really believe now is the time for a 25% tax on gas export revenue. I think for too long we've been willing to give away our natural resources for free.
However, the Australian Energy Producers says the industry is already Australia's second largest corporate taxpayer, contributing $21.9 billion in taxes and royalties in 2024-25 alone.
The proposals from these organisations will kill off new investment.
Don't listen to their BS. They know what they're doing. They have a lot of money.
The Australia Institute estimates a tax on windfall profits would generate an extra $17 billion a year for the government. The question now, who will win the gas tax argument with the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, ahead of May's federal budget?
There's a very wide spectrum of views, and obviously we take those views seriously.
Josh Martin, 7 News.
And to hear those interviews in full, head to 7news.com.au/The Issue, download the Listener app or find it wherever you get your podcasts. WA Police have taken part in sea rescue drills near Henderson. Specialist diving officers were put through their paces, jumping out of a moving helicopter and into the open ocean. Compared to a winch line rescue, these techniques are used when response time is critical.
lifetimes away.
The exercises are typically used in more serious water emergencies like plane crashes or capsized and submerged boats. When Australia's oldest living Olympian first took to Sydney Harbour, the bridge was brand new. Now he's written himself into the record books. Gordon Ingate took to the water today, becoming the first centenarian to compete in a Sydney regatta.
History on the harbour, under sail and brilliant blue skies. Regatta racing as it's always been done. And no one knows that better than Gordon Ingate.
At the moment I'm 100 plus 9 days.
Skippering in today's inaugural Royal Prince Edward Yacht Club Classic, likely making him the first ever Australian sailor to compete at more than 100 years old.
Pretty impressed with that because it was something that I didn't think I'd ever make.
He is Australia's oldest living Olympian, competing in the 1972 Munich Games.
I think I've been very fortunate indeed.
In a global career, sailing America's Cup Challenges, raced against royalty and in many Sydney Hobarts, including on this 28-footer Jasna back in 1950. It took 7 days, and new rules means today it's now too small to compete.
What I do like about yacht racing is at the start you get a starting gun. Would like to hear the next gun, which is the finishing gun. And that's what keeps me driving.
Gordon first took to these waters aged 9. Long before most of that skyline, the bridge was brand new.
My brother taught me sailing.
In the Sea Scouts, the start of a passion for this sport, for this harbour.
You're only going to have a look at it, and it's fantastic.
100 years old and sailing on. What's next?
To stay alive for the next start.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
And he's got a good chance of that. Perth's Orthodox Christians are celebrating Easter this weekend, packing services across the city. In Northbridge, the faithful took to the streets for a solemn Good Friday procession. This year's message was one of hope. The centuries-old tradition represents the funeral and burial of Jesus.
His burial becomes life for us. His death becomes the destruction of death.
Opposition leader Basil Zempilas and his family were among the congregation marking the occasion. The next generation of weight loss drugs has arrived, but fake versions are flooding the market and putting lives on the line. That's next. Plus, electric vehicles on show, the cars you could be driving tomorrow.
And coming up in Sport Live from Adelaide, the Dockers make it 4 in a row. The Eagles prepare for the Cats, and Rory on fire at the Masters.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
A new weight loss drug touted as the next big breakthrough in generating hype online, even though it's not approved anywhere in the world, fake versions are already being sold, raising serious safety concerns as the drug maker calls on police to intervene.
Lifting the bar in the race for the next generation of weight loss drugs. The one generating the latest buzz is retatrutide, an experimental treatment still in clinical trials. Early research suggests it could produce greater weight loss than existing medications.
It appears to be more effective in terms of the absolute amount of weight loss achieved compared to the other 2 drugs that we now have on the market in Australia for weight management.
Up to 29%, similar to gastric sleeve surgery. Surprisingly, no extra muscle loss detected so far. That's the reason why the drug is already being discussed by gym goers.
I would be surprised if 50% or more of bodybuilders are using it or coming in saying that they're using it.
But the drug is still in phase 3 trials. It can't be sold legally anywhere in the world yet.
It's a pretty unregulated space. You don't quite know what you're what you're using.
Now, pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly, which is developing the drug, has issued a damning statement telling 7 News counterfeit and black market products are untested, unregulated and potentially dangerous, in some cases deadly. They've called on regulators, law enforcement and social media platforms to remove illegal products and content to protect patients from fake products.
It's experimental and people really shouldn't be using it.
Doctors say the hype and excitement around retatrutide is understandable, but it could be months, even years, before it's approved.
And obviously the mainstay to all of this is just having a good exercise and diet program in place in the first place.
Losing weight the old-fashioned way. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Langley Park was transformed into Little Italy today as thousands gathered for the Perth Italian Festival. The free event showcases the best of Italian culture, from gelato and pizza to traditional performances. There's still time to enjoy the fun with a dazzling firework display and a DJ set from 9 p.m. Kate Blanchett was among the Aussie stars celebrated at a special event in London, recognising our country's influence on the British stage. She was joined by fellow Australians, award-winning director Kip Williams and international playwright Susie Miller.
I feel very privileged, and also I've worked really hard, but so have so many playwrights. And there's so many fantastic playwrights in Australia. I just hope that all of us get the gigs that we all dream of.
Both Blanchett and Miller are nominated for London's prestigious Olivier Awards, being presented this weekend. Electric car sales are soaring thanks to sky-high petrol prices, with almost 16,000 sold last month. The latest models and cars of tomorrow have gone on show. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. But first, Ryan is back with sport live from Adelaide. Ryan, the Dockers got the job done.
They did too. It was ugly, but Freo won the big moments and the game. All the highlights and the fallout next. Plus, the Eagles prepare for a clash with the Cats. And Rory's lead continues to grow at the Masters. Rare company in his sights. The Dockers did it again for the second week in a row. They came and pulled off a thrilling win here at Adelaide Oval. The game had just 12 goals combined and was close throughout. Freo winning the big moments and the game.
A new home away from home.
The Fremantle Dockers have got themselves out of jail for 2 weeks in a row.
The Dockers' love affair with Adelaide growing even stronger. Developing a knack for coming good in the close ones.
When the moments presented in the last, we were good enough to take them, and yeah, we got the last 3 minutes. Yeah, pretty much how we wanted it.
The Pies looked bound for glory. Angus Anderson kicked his first goal, taking a slim lead into the last after forcing another slow defensive game. Their final 3 shots a goal, however, were all behinds.
The game's not decided by those moments, those set shots in particular, but I don't want to put that pressure on them. But again, it does matter, doesn't it, at times when you just don't quite execute. So talked around a bit of a circle there, trying to protect them, didn't I? Yeah.
The Dockers, meanwhile, lived up to the mantra that it doesn't have to be your day to be your moment. Matt Johnson had just 5 touches to three-quarter time before setting up Jai Amos and following it up with this.
He's closed down, he's caught by Dudley. Johnson a chance. Scoots away, eyes the goal and puts Fremantle ahead.
While Josh Tracy was well held by Billy Frampton until the last.
Thumps it forward. Tracy, there he is. What a start.
They hadn't stuck all night, to be honest, and it was just one of those nights up forward. Had to keep bringing it to ground, so yeah, it was nice to hang on to one there at the end.
Sean Darcy exited the game early and will miss next week with concussion. They could look to Mason Cox for his club debut after another strong showing in the Waffle. But they may not need to. In Darcy's absence, Luke Jackson took full responsibility, dominating with 38 hit-outs and 5 marks.
Thought his aerial, in particular, in his second half was really strong. Yeah, he marked it like it was a dry weather night.
While skipper Alex Pearce was again instrumental with 10 intercept possessions.
That last quarter, just grinded, stood up in some contests, took our chances. Yeah, sometimes just got to kick straight, and that'll do.
They'll finish the round in the top 4 after their lowest ever winning score. Next up, the Western Derby in front of the Eagles' home crowd They've won 8 of their last 9 against West Coast. Lockie Burns, 7 News.
Well, the West Coast Eagles had a final tune-up this morning before taking on Geelong at Norwood Oval tomorrow. Andrew McQualter says Bailey Williams may need his time on ground managed on return from injury, but he spent a lot of time practising his ruck work in the centre ball-ups this morning. Rick the Rock was sporting the ochre Guernsey, which the Eagles will wear for the first time in 24 years. The game starts at 10:30am WA time. It's live and free on 7 and 7+. Relief for Essendon fans here today with a win over the Melbourne Demons. It was the first Bombers victory since May last year.
Celebrating a win nearly a year in the making.
17 games. 17 games. The equal worst losing run in club history has ended.
I'm really pleased for the players to get that reward. I'm really pleased for our supporters who have been through a really tough time. I'm really pleased for the club. But perspective is important.
Despite this banner blunder, the Bombers looked good from the get-go.
Spills away, Sardis the snap and the goal.
Melbourne finally got going in the second, and who else was going to spark them into action?
A run and a bounce, great chase from Pickett, running down. He mowed him down from long range.
From the back line to the forward line, Cozzy Pickett was everywhere.
He put in the hard yards for his team at one end, and now he's kicking a goal at the other.
The margin just 6 points to the D's at half-time before the Bombers booted the next 5 goals.
Roberts will send it from 50 and absolutely launch into a huge goal.
Cozzy Pickett tried to wrestle back the momentum before Dan Turner's off-the-ball hit resulted in a certain Essendon goal, and they kept coming. Zach Merritt with a genuine goal of the year contender.
Left foot snap from the pocket, Zach Merritt!
Before giving Cozzy Pickett a taste of his own medicine.
I'll give complete credit to Essendon for the way they played, and once they got a roll on in that third quarter, you could tell they had their tails up.
The Bombers are now preparing for a date with the Gold Coast Suns.
We've still got a hell of a lot of work to do, and even if we don't get the result today, I think that the trajectory we're on is still the same.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
Brisbane held off a spirited North Melbourne in the Barossa Valley today. The Roos led at half-time thanks to some brilliance from Luke Davies-Uniacke before Cooper Trembuff took a Mark of the Year contender.
This young man is a rising star of the competition.
Lincoln McCarthy followed up with a brilliant goal, helping the Lions run away with it in the final term to win by 26 points. Dane Zorko gave Paul Curtis a low blow before he suffered a calf injury of his own and sat out the second half. Swan star Isaac Heaney has put on another masterclass starring for the Swans, who defeated the Gold Coast Suns by 32 points at Norwood. Sydney led at every change, but Ben Long refused to lie down, booting his third goal to trim the margin.
Somehow gets a snap towards goal! Top shelf Long, he's got 3 and they will not go away, the Stars.
Former son Malcolm Rosas Jr. put the result beyond doubt against his old side with his own stunning goal. Years of torment around Augusta National are long forgotten for Rory McIlroy, pushing to become just the 4th back-to-back Masters winner. The Irishman leads by a record 6 shots at the halfway point in Georgia, sitting 12 under after a 7 under par second round. McIlroy aiming to join Tiger Woods, Nick Faldo and Jack Nicklaus as the only people to win consecutive green jackets.
That's on a good line. How about this? Oh, yes!
And I guess my mindset is just trying to, keep playing well and, keeping my foot on the gas.
Jason Day is the best of the Aussies, the former world number ones, 8 shots off the pace at 4 under. And emotional Molly Picklum will have to wait at least another year to ring her first bell after being beaten by Hawaiian Gabriella Bryan in the final at Bells Beach today.
Silver can sting, but honestly I'm so happy to be one of the only Aussies in the semis and finals and to just do all of us hopefully proud.
Miguel Pupo upset the field in an all-Brazilian men's final, overcoming reigning world champion Iago Dora. And with his family watching on, Kiwi Ryan Wood earned an emotional first Supercars win on home soil in New Zealand.
My dad was probably bawling his eyes out. My mum's a little bit tougher. Yeah, this is incredible. I can't believe it. Sorry about all my emotion. It just means so much.
Perth's Brodie Kostecki won the first race of the day. He leads Brock Feeney in the championships by 19 points. tomorrow's final race was cancelled due to the incoming cyclone Vaianu. Just one more day of gather round to go, Sue, but tonight here at Adelaide Oval, it's Hawthorn leading the Bulldogs by 28 points.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been a great success. Rising fuel prices are driving more Australians than ever to the electric car market. Today, all the latest models and cars of the future were on show in Melbourne at one of the biggest motor exhibitions in the Southern Hemisphere.
Revved up and ready to go, it's Christmas for car lovers. All here to see the hottest new models set out to hit the road.
We've taken the whole building here, so it's the largest consumer show in the country at the moment. Small cars to big cars to brand new cars.
I guess diversity of the lineup here is really impressive.
There's something for drivers young and old. What do you think of your son's driving skills?
It's the first time he's got on the steering wheel, so I think he's doing pretty good.
To chase that adrenaline and fear, you're always wanting a faster car. So, yeah, hence you end up with these wild 1,000 horsepower drift cars.
A blast from the past and the cars of the future.
They're great looking cars. They're like science fiction movies.
Soaring oil prices are driving interest in EVs.
A lot of people are probably here because of the fuel crisis, and it's probably a good opportunity for lots of people to have a look at brands that they've never seen before.
With nearly 16,000 electric cars sold in Australia last month, that's up 42%.
30-day supply in Australia is now etched in everyone's minds, and I think that we're seeing a lot of people that are speaking to us about electric vehicles because they want to be free of the concerns around the availability of petrol and diesel at the moment.
Over 100,000 visitors are expected, with the event wrapping up tomorrow. And there's no time like the present to snare your dream drive.
It's a bit of hard work, bit of determination, but man, if I can do it, so can you.
Phoebe Worthley, 7 News.
And Jerry Damasi is back with tomorrow's forecast. Some warmer days ahead, Jerry.
Yes, Sue, a little warmer than last week, but we might see some rain before the end of the week. I've got your 7-day forecast next.
As the nation Missed the start of the news? You can start over on 7 Plus on selected devices, 7 News at 6, or when you start over on 7 Plus.
Hello, some smoke haze about today with DFS running prescribed burns south of Perth. Other than that, it was sunny skies. 14 was the minimum before a top of 28. Some northern suburbs did crack 30 degrees today, most others peaking between 28 and 29. It's very still outside right now and 23 degrees in Perth City. On the satellite, Cyclone Malia up there is losing steam and likely to be a dissipating low by the time it reaches Queensland, if it gets there. For WA, this high pressure system is keeping most of the state warm, and this big trough here down the coast is pulling that warm air out to Perth. So we are going to see a few slightly hotter days ahead. Looking a bit different over east though, some very cold maximums. Hobart 13, Canberra 14, Melbourne 16, showers for some capitals too. Not for us though, warm sunshine all the way down the coast tomorrow. Bunbury should make it to 27, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning for inland parts of the Pilbara and Gascoyne, which is active right now. On the waters of Perth, east to southeasterly winds to 10 knots tomorrow, turning southerly to 15 in the early afternoon. Seas and swell both around a metre. Getting down to 19 degrees tonight and a top of 31 tomorrow. Sunny skies, but we could see more of that smoke haze about. Then ahead, Monday through Thursday, all looking pretty stable. Maximums should be between 28 and 30 degrees with sunny skies, except for Wednesday, which could see a little bit of cloud. And then toward the weekend is where we might see some rain. So Friday 26, Saturday 23, and showers possible on both days. Now it's time for tonight's winning lotto numbers, and they are 15, 44, 32, 33, 8, 11, and the SUPs 35 and 41. Those numbers again, 15, 44, 32, 33, 8, 11, and the SUPs are 35 and 41. Good luck and Christos Anesti to my fellow Greek and Orthodox viewers. We'll be celebrating our Easter tomorrow. So,
thanks, Jerry, and thanks for your company on our Saturday night 7 News Bulletin. We'll have updates here on 7, and for the latest stories, head to 7news.com.au. Have a great weekend.